Hello. I'm going to I want to do several videos on my experience at in the masters of science. I can never remember. Is it counseling and clinical psychology program at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine on City Avenue. All right. So the first thing that happened is I took a year-long just a little certification program with the late and in his mind great, no, I'm just kidding, Dr. Arthur Freeman, he was the founder of PCOM's psychology program. And so the program is interesting. It offers you can get a PsyD. I think you can get there's also the school psychology program. I just by driving by the school, I saw that you can do ABA there now too. It's kind of expensive. It's a small school. It's mostly women. I think that plays a very interesting factor in my experience there too, and mostly white women, which also is interesting because number one, it's a Philadelphia school, right? So Philadelphia is at least half black, but the class is not half black, so it's not representative of. I think there was one woman who was African American who she might have been actually African, who had been a medical student, and I think she was on leave or something like that, and then she was getting her master's degree. She did very well. Then there was another African American woman, who I used to see around sometimes. She did well. Then there was, I remember I sat next to a woman who was black and German. She was African American and German, which was interesting to me because my father went to the University of Heidelberg Medical School, and I have a half German sister, and she was fluent. She ended up going into the psychology program. And then there's an Indian American woman. And then, but there were only two guys, and there was one other guy, and he also, I believe, went into the PsyD program. But I got in a lot of trouble. I'm now a licensed clinical social worker in the state of New Jersey and state of Pennsylvania, and I plan to be licensed in Delaware as well as New York State. That's my goal. And hopefully, I'd like to write about these topics because I think they're really interesting. But in the first class I took, and I can't even remember what it was called. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was with this woman. Her name was Stephanie Schneider. And this was 2005. So I was very alarmed by the invasion of Iraq. And I was really political. I can't stand war. I think PCOM is kind of like, I remember they had a flag up of like soldiers, missing soldiers. Or what's that flag? POWMIA, one of those flags. It's kind of a right wing. It's kind of slightly center right university type of thing. And I found the staff there, Dr. Gosh, Dr. Singer, Dr. Filaguzzi, Dr. Gina Fusco, and I forgot the one who taught me intelligence testing is the worst. And then some of the guys, I'm gonna talk more in depth. But I remember we had an opportunity in the first class I took. I think it was clinical interviewing, maybe. I don't even remember. I still have the textbook. I've actually bought subsequent editions of the textbook. But we had an opportunity to write a paper on something involving psychology and also politics. So I picked the impact of shock. I think I called the paper Shock and Awe. Shock and Awe. And I was looking at the impact of the invasion on children of Iraq. Because, usually people get dismissed as collateral damage. Nobody really gives a damn about these the victims of our imperialism. And I was somewhat politically active at that time, or at least prior to that. And I remember I went to a meeting, maybe it was in Soho, New York, and this guy, I don't remember where he was from, but this was prior to the invasion of Iraq, and he actually told us that it was going to happen because, like, he knew people at the Pentagon, and they were telling him that, they were going to use this pretense, and he told us it's going to be in 6 months. And it just really blew my mind. It was a surreal experience that I knew this was going to occur, and it did. They came up with the WMDs. I knew it was a lie before they even announced that they were going to invade Iraq. I knew they were going to announce, and I mean, like, I'm not connected at all. I just went to this meeting, and this guy announces, "Oh yes, the United States they're going to create some kind of pretense," and I went out and protested. Didn't make a damn bit of difference. However, I mean, it didn't stop anything, at least. And we went, I mean, how many years were we in Iraq? I mean, it was all about oil, getting more, getting control of Iraq's oil supply, as well as, there were geopolitical interests in the region, of course. It was just a lie. It was amazing. And then I remember Phil Donahue tried to detract from what am I saying? No, he tried to dissent from the whole thing, and they got rid of him. You cannot have no dissent is ever tolerated. So, I was excited when I got to write this little paper, and it was only supposed to be 2 or 3 pages. I ended up writing like 25 pages on the and she said there was no maximum amount. You could write as much as you want. And so I did, because I'm so angry about it. And I think we've killed like how many, 1 million people? Cost over $4 trillion for this invasion. At least, I mean, that was a book written by Joseph Stiglitz. It's probably ended up costing much more than that. So, so back to the class, right? So, I mean, Stephanie Schneider, she's a nice person and everything like that. I'm not saying, these are bad people. Well, let me just say, Stephanie, she's all right. But she gave me an F. First class. This is the first class I was taking at the school. Got an F. Can you imagine? And I think it was like one of the first assignments. So I might have, if I failed this class, like, I'd been kicked out of the program anyway. Immediately. Just at the beginning. It's insane. And why? Because I didn't follow APA style. That was the reason. Now, since then, like in college, I was a radio, television, and film major, which is, I want to do a video about that. That is a complete waste of time. Don't, whatever you do, because first of all, there is no, all of the equipment that we used in that program is completely antiquated. Practically at the time I was in there, totally pointless degree, leads to nothing, as well as it's just unnecessary. Don't take it. Don't go in any school of communications or anything like that. You don't need to study something more substantive, philosophy or some kind of science. Make sure that you can get a job like after you graduate. But anyway, so I was freaking out. I got an F on the paper. Thought I was going to get kicked out of the program. Subsequently, I did get kicked out of the program twice. But in any event, she gave me an opportunity to write the paper again. But this time, follow APA style. But then, interestingly, she gave me some articles she wanted me to include because I was heavily using the Lancet. I mean, go check that report out on the impact of the war in Iraq. And it was on the casualties. This just blew my mind that the president of the United States could lie with the total support of the media, take us into a war, a pure act of aggression. And she, I think, wrote something like, I should look at the positive elements of the invasion. And also, don't just talk about Iraq, let's look at war in general. And she actually gave me articles she wanted me to use. So, of course, I had to conform because school's mostly about obedience anyway. And I we were thrown out of school at this point. So I just went along with it. And so that was the first experience I had at PCOM that I found very troubling, to say the least. More on that. And again, I don't have, this is, look at these curtains. They look terrible. And that's one, you should see how many books I actually have. It's just one stack. But in any event, that was the first experience I had at PCOM. It was terrible. And there's many more that I'd like to talk about. And I don't know if anybody will ever watch this, but at the very least, it's kind of therapeutic for me. So thank you.